can't stop the future. You can't rewind the past. The only way to learn the secret is to press play.
Change comes in many forms. It can be gradual or instantaneous, easy or hard, exciting or scary, or honestly, all of these things. As we go through life, it is the only real constant.
Through past, present, and future, the changes we go through shape us into who we are. Just as Paul experienced great change in his life as God transformed his heart and caused him to change his name, we too grow and develop into different people than we were before.
Our lives are stories of change, and there is incredible power to those personal narratives. Today we are going to share with you some stories of our own.
And hopefully, in the process, encourage you to reflect on yours as well.
Because even in the swirling masses of our lives, defined by difference and transition, we can always find God's hand if we look hard enough.
And through him, find our connection, our support, our strength, and our faith to create those things for others.
Please join us in an opening prayer.
Lord, may the words of our mouths and the meditation of each of our hearts be found acceptable in your sight. Amen.
As we look back into the past, we reflect on the countless ways each of us has changed.
Maybe it was going to the school for the first time, finishing that first year, or making a new friend.
Maybe it was changes in dreams, goals, or that lovely time we call puberty.
Maybe it was losing a friend, moving away, or the death of someone close to you.
Through the changes in our past, we can better understand ourselves now.
When I was very young, I did not like to talk to people I didn't know. I'm not sure if the idea of stranger danger just got too far into my head or what, but I did not want to order at restaurants because I didn't know the waitstaff. Usually, I'd make my parents order for me. Eventually, and hesitantly at first, I stopped deferring to my parents and started telling waiters and waitresses what I wanted to eat. Sometimes, I even looked them in the eye when I did it. I even started with talking with folks who were around me more often and making friends. Now, I want to be clear, I didn't get carried away with this talking to strangers nonsense. I would not initiate conversations if I didn't have to. I was a totally different person when I was hanging out with my friends than when I was in public. But I was working on expressing my opinions and participating in conversations, even if I didn't know everyone in them.
Now, when I was a kid, I was convinced that nothing was ever going to change. I was determined to keep the same exact friends until I was 90. We'd all grow up doing the same things, and though we'd be getting older, I wouldn't age a day. Anything outside my small farm town in central Illinois was a place for vacations or weekend grocery trips. But these weren't places for my real life. No, my real life was in that town. But this slowly began to change when my brother went off to college. See, my brother's 8 years older than me, and I never really thought about what happens after high school or where other people before us had gone until it was happening to him. I had recently turned 10 when we traveled right here to Champaign to drop my brother off for school. I was overwhelmed by the atmosphere of college and how different it was from my hometown. As we drove back home, without my brother sharing the back seat with me, it finally hit me how different it was going to be without him home every day. Every once in a while, I'd go into his bedroom and just sit on his bed looking around at the place where he had spent so much of his time. I had accepted for a fact that there was so much outside of this small town I'd grown up in, and it was something that I actually wanted to experience. Life outside El Paso, Illinois was possible, and it was exciting. There was this whole other real world outside the city limits, and gradually, my town seemed so much smaller. I was outgrowing it, and the change that I had hoped would never come became what I couldn't wait for.
It was June of 2008. I was vacationing in California with my family, visiting other family. My cousins and I decided to go out and do something pointless, get something at the grocery store, something like that. Anyway, we got into the car and started driving, and my cousins turned on the radio. I'd never really been into music before. It's kind of odd because that's one thing that almost everyone says that they like, music. But a song was finishing up on the road, and on the radio came I Kissed a Girl by Katy Perry. Everyone in the car was so into it, we didn't know who it was by or what gender they were. On the trip to and from wherever we were going, I swear it came on the radio 3 times, and we loved it every time. A little later on that vacation, we were in Las Vegas, and everyone but me was watching the Miss Universe pageant. I'd gotten out of the shower just in time to catch the musical performance. It was Lady Gaga performing her first and only single at the time, Just Dance. Those two, Lady Gaga and Katy Perry, got me interested in music to the point that year, I asked for Christmas for a Zune, the knockoff iPod. I had no idea where to start with my new interest in listening to music. I started with watching American Idol. My all-time favorite contestant, Adam Lambert, was on it. And Adam Lambert came out on Rolling Stone's cover 2 days after the finale of American Idol that season. That, combined with plenty of research on the Bible around that time, was the final push that got me to start coming out to people less than 2 weeks later. So, a change in my perception of music and a growing interest in it over the course of a year pushed me to come out of the closet when I did, which is one of the biggest changes in my life.
But growing up presents us with a new set of changes.
Going to college, leaving home, or dealing with relationships in all their forms.
Changing your hair, your clothes, or the way you present yourself to others.
Or perhaps a death in the family, a setback in life, injury or illness.
I came to college with the intention of becoming an animator, getting a job with Pixar and living my dream in sunny Emeryville, California. And well, if that didn't pan out, at least I'd have an engineering degree in computer science from the University of Illinois, so finding a well-paying job wouldn't be an issue. See, passion was a term lost on me at the time. For most of my class, announcing their passion was easy, but for me, coming to terms with what I truly wanted to do with my life was hard. So many people I knew would tell me how unrealistic it was to go to school to make movies or participate in the entertainment industry. Besides, with my grades and how smart I was, I could be put to better use as an engineer or doctor like everyone else was happy doing. Film was a hobby, not a career choice. But through my first year of college, I realized that I was far from happy. The program wasn't taking me in the direction I wanted, and after a lot of thought, I discussed with my parents what I wished to do and applied to switch my major to cinema studies. Classes instantly became more enjoyable, and I slowly started to feel more like myself again, as opposed to just going through the motions of coursework. But I wasn't quite convinced that I had made the right choice. It wasn't going to be as easy to get a job, and I was constantly thinking about what my future would be like. It wasn't until this summer that I actually found validation. I spent the summer working an internship for a local film production company, shooting a movie in a neighboring town. Hours were long, conditions weren't ideal, and tensions were high. Stress was served for breakfast, and we were nonstop until bedtime, whether that was at 11 at night or 7 in the morning. It was a wild ride, and while days were rough, I had never been happier in my life. I was a part of the action and a witness to something being created that I had helped with. It was one of the most amazing and rewarding experiences of my life, and through it I have met some of the best people. See, the real change didn't lie in my decision to change majors and my discussion with my parents, or even in admitting to people what I study or what I plan to do with my life. The real change was in the realization that I made this summer. The acceptance in myself that this was what made me happiest, and the surefire belief in my capability to achieve it has become one of the biggest changes in my life.
More recently, I've been looking for a job. Currently, I have an internship. My current internship was a big change for me. It was the first time I worked a 9-to-5 job. Going from school to that was not as big of a change as I thought it would be. But while I was there, I learned so much and I changed. My ability to present in front of a group before this was atrocious. I couldn't speak in front of a mass of people like I am today. I would sweat, shake, and then sit down. At my internship, I had plenty of presentation skills trainings and have given 45-minute presentations from memory on 5 separate occasions, and I'm preparing for a 6th one right now. So my perception of public speaking and my ability to speak in front of a group has changed.
2 years ago, during the first semester of my sophomore year in college, I had a bad roommate. A really bad roommate. One who used to be my friend, but decided we were no longer friends without telling me. Those who were in the campus ministry that year can tell you all about it. Roommate problems were my low every week for the first semester. That was the first time I'd ever had a severe falling out with a friend. However, confronting her about it and realizing that I no longer wanted to be her friend anyway made me figure out that I am worth the respect and care that comes from a good friend. I began, slowly, to change my self-image. That is really hard to do alone, and even with my friends' support, I moved at a snail's pace. After all, my friends had been encouraging me for years before I started to try to make this change. Then I met this guy at a party. I used my talking with people skills that I'd been honing for a few years, and he asked me for my number at the end of the night. It was a lot easier to believe in myself when there was someone who thought I was great, telling me that I was a lot better than I thought I was. The gradual process of improving my self-image moved much more quickly once I met Kieran. Kieran and I have been dating for over a year now, but it's still an ongoing work to believe in myself as much as he does. But unlike the end of my friendship with that bad roommate, some changes take a little more time.
But in the midst of even these present transitions, life continues. And some of the most important changes are the ones that have yet to happen, the ones unknown, or the ones just beginning.
What the future holds for each one of us and our worlds around us will be different.
Where we'll go, what we'll do, and who we'll be tomorrow, a year from now, 10 years from now.
The future opens a range of possibilities for the changes to come.
I'm going to finish school soon. In fact, all 3 of us are. There are a lot of changes that come with that, like finding a job, moving, figuring out what you're going to do with your life. Since my family's moved from Illinois to California over the course of this year, another big change, I want to join them. Finding a job out there, moving out there, everything I own and myself, that's going to be a Herculean task. But I'm ready to do it when it happens. I don't really know everything about the changes soon to come in my future, but change is an exciting thing, and I'm ready for it.
As a graduating senior, I also have a lot of changes in my future. I'll leave the campus that has become so familiar to me, and I'll move to a city I've only visited for a few days at a time. This will be one of the biggest changes in my life so far. Because of my major, I can't really look for a job until next semester, so at this point, I have no idea what I'll be doing. It's possible that I'll be working at the Walgreens in Cincinnati instead of the one in Champaign. I only really know one person in Cincinnati. It's Kieran. I hope that's not a surprise. My hometown will be about a 7-hour car ride away, the farthest I'll have ever been from home for an extended amount of time. I'll have adult responsibilities like paying bills and going to a real job. Still, like all changes in life, eventually all these different things will become routine or change further until they are familiar. I will learn the routine of whatever job I get. I'll even make friends if I can remember it's okay to talk to people. Individual changes come and go, but life itself never stays the same for long.
So, in about 6 months, I'm actually going to graduate college. I'm going to walk across the stage and accept a diploma. At least that's what I'm planning on. If you had asked me 4 years ago where I'd be headed, my answer would have been California without a doubt. But today my answer is different. The nature of my career opens a vast amount of possibilities for where I may end up and what my specific job may be. While California seems to be the most ideal place to set up shop, there are so many other possible destinations for the next chapter in my life. This Wednesday, for an event we have called the Wednesday Word, I brought a song in by Sarah Bareilles entitled Chasing the Sun. The song is a reflection on life and death and making the most of our lives while we have the chance to live them. The changing world around us can seem suffocating, and buildings themselves start to resemble tombstones. But we aren't meant to waste away, and we have to try to move forward in a big way while we're here. To take a deep breath, run, and always be chasing the sun. I've learned so much over the past 4 years from the classes I've taken and the people I've met. So to answer the question of how my response is different than it was 4 years ago is because I can honestly say that I don't know where I'll be in 10 years or what I'll be doing. But I can tell you that where I'm headed and the challenges I'll face are all a part of me chasing the sun by doing what I love any way I can. So with no regrets, I'll look forward to those changes to come.
So whether it's the changes we reflect on from the past, changes we are going through now, or the anticipation of change to come, we are always in its presence.
Change impacts more than just us as individuals, but those surrounding us as well.
God presents us with change when we least expect it, and sometimes when we least desire it.
But perhaps, in reality, He presents it to us when we need it the most, not as something that we must always only endure as something to experience and appreciate.
At the beginning of each service, we make a note to say that no matter who you are or where you are in life's journey, you are welcome here, and we really, truly mean that.
And it's in this saying that we recognize the presence of change in all of our lives, as well as the strength and support this church and its people can offer in its midst.
May it continue to be so as we continue to change and welcome others into this congregation as we go out into our normal lives to be mindful of the change around us.
Some may be struggling with change. Others may not even know it's happening yet. But it is always there, big or small, good or bad. And if nothing else, the most important thing we can do is be there for it.
So reflect on the past, enjoy the present, and await the future. And together, do not be hung up by the inability or desire to hit stop, rewind, or skip, but realize the truly amazing opportunity we are given and the ability to press play. Amen.